Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F124 Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we head to the Hungarian Grand Prix where we sit off of our first DNF in our career due to a mechanical failure last episode in Silverstone. But we had some pretty big news coming into this weekend, as you see Natalie Pinkham and Anthony Davidson talking about some silly season news in the background. Formula One has confirmed this weekend an absolute shocker of an announcement. They have officially decided to allow an 11th team to join the grid next season. The question is, what team is that going to be? What are they bringing? Obviously, it's got to be something that is appealing to Formula One. We don't know about it quite yet, but we do know that an 11th team will join the grid next season here from Formula One. That is going to be exciting. Of course, we've been in talks with Trackhouse Racing as well as Williams now in the last episode, but Trackhouse is a new team that wants to come in, but from the sounds of it, they were more into the idea of buying a current team, such as maybe like a V-Carb or even a Williams or specifically like an Alpine that's been struggling at times. So I would not expect Trackhouse to be the team that's going to be the 11th team on the grid, but we'll know more as we go. So we'll be actually having a conversation very soon again with Trackhouse Racing as well as Justin Marks, and hopefully we'll get some kind of clarification as to what's going on. But we come through into the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend, and I was pretty excited for this one because if you remember the prologue episode of this career mode series, this was the track where we got to do the young driver program in the practice session in 2023 with the Williams F1 team, which basically set us up to get the opportunity to drive full time for Williams. So my hope is that we can certainly put together a heck of an effort this weekend and kind of impress, of course, now. But yeah, I was really happy actually with how the car was driving this weekend so far in practice. I didn't really need to make any setup changes from what we rolled into the weekend with, which is quite rare in this game for me. But we end up a ways down the order here. P17 in practice compared to our teammate, though, a few tenths off of him on that soft compound tire, as that brings us into qualifying. Important to note, we are taking a grid penalty, so the part that failed last episode in Britain has forced us into going into past the maximum allowed parts that were used or able to use in a certain part of the engine. You can see as well a new Williams helmet actually on the car. It will be linked down below in the description. Did I say new Williams helmet on the car? New Williams helmet on me. But nonetheless, yeah, wherever we qualify, it's basically we're going to be starting towards the back of the grid here, so it doesn't really matter, but I still wanted to put up the best qualifying effort that I could and just see what kind of pace we had for this weekend, of course, because practice is really just a baseline idea. Qualifying is where we're going to figure it out. So rounding the final turn here in my opening part of Q1, and we go P11, and I was confident I had more time and I would go for that, and I would find nearly half a second more 4/10 of a second here in my second lap, and that would boost us up into P8, which would be plenty to get through, but not by much. P14, P15 for Albon and myself. Hulkenberg, Ricardo, Magnussen, Bottas, and Joe all out in Q number 1. So going through into Q2, now what can we do? Of course, Q3 has been something we've been able to do sometimes, but we've been just kind of upgrading kind of at pace with other teams around us, so it's not like we've been breaking away and able to kind of solidify ourselves as a car that can just make it into Q3 every week. It's more of a, you know, every 1 to 2 or 3 races, I should say, every 2 or 3 races we're making it into Q3. But we go P6 on lap 1, but we would eventually drop down to P12 as now we go behind the camera for our last attempts here in Q number 2, and I would start to find time about halfway through the lap. 4/10 gain, 5/10, half a second, but it goes back down towards the 4/10 range, and it would stay there for the rest of the lap. We come through to the line, and it's enough to get us through. We're P7 in Q2. We dropped to P8, but Albon, who was so close to my lap in Q1, is down there in 14th place, 6/10 of a second off. Ocon, Tsunoda, Gasly, and a surprise exit there due to me getting in. Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari as well is out here as we come through into Q3. And like I said, it doesn't really matter what kind of lap we put down. We're going to be starting racing from the back, but nonetheless, just seeing, like I said, what kind of pace is in this car, and we would round this final turn, and it wasn't quite what I had hoped. We crossed the line, and it was P9, but we eventually dropped to P10. Leclerc only manages 9th. It's a Red Bull front row lockout. Verstappen, Perez, Norris will join them on row 2, ready to attack Alonso as well. P4, Hamilton, P5. Let's get ready to go racing on the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend, the anniversary of our debut in a Formula One car.
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of Formula One action. We're not expecting too many retirements at this circuit. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher, who made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaroring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking's always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile track, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. So let's hope we're in for another one here today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Stroll, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Tsunoda, Albon, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Bottas, Joe, and Golden Boy. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me, bringing glamour and expertise to our commentary today, Naomi Schiff. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
So then we're ready to go racing here from this Hungarian Grand Prix. It's a 2-stop day here in Hungary. We're going to be starting on mediums, going on to mediums, then hards. You could do a 3-stop, but it would be expected to take an additional 12 seconds, so we'll stick with just a 2-stop here.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. And that may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race.
A bit of split strategy. George Russell on the soft, Tsunoda, Albon as well, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Bottas, and Zhou all electing to start on the soft compound tire. Even though we're on the very back of the grid due to the grid penalties, we maintain that 2-stop idea.
As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Right, mate, probably the worst place outside of Monaco to take a penalty. Passing will be hard today, so be patient for me.
Yeah, 10-4. Obviously, last week put us in this position today. It's unfortunate, but I'll do everything I can for you guys. So, we're ready to go racing here from this Hungarian Grand Prix. We got the 2 pair of steak, kick, Sauber F1 cars, whatever you want to call them, right there in front of us on our nose now. But Max Verstappen and his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez set to lead the field to green, as it's going to be 5 red lights here for 35 laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And officially, we're underway here now, as it's a pretty slow start from my start. Verstappen leads the way down towards turn 1. Perez swallowed up in the background. Lando Norris going to slip through into the second position right off the bat. Perez going to try and maintain P3. He's got the pair of Mercedes of Hamilton, Russell attacking him as well. Fernando Alonso as well goes backwards on the start. Charles Leclerc alongside him in the background, but Lewis Hamilton around the outside of Perez, side by side, wheel to wheel there. Hamilton fresh off of a win just recently, of course, in a few episodes ago in the Austrian Grand Prix. Last episode, we thought it was going to be back-to-back wins for Mercedes with Russell out in front, but after our DNF, whatever happened there with the simulation put Max Verstappen at the top of the board instead at the end of the day. I myself went nowhere. We're still in 20th position. Not the start we were looking for, and you heard Mark mention it, and we acknowledged it. Passing in Hungary is not easy, to say the least. It's kind of like Monaco, of course. You know, the barriers are a lot further away from you, and there's some grass that you can hit, and the scenery is just a little bit different. You're not plagued by buildings all around you, but nonetheless, it's not easy to overtake, but we're going to certainly try and make it look easy if we can, and we're going to start right here at the end of lap 1, starting lap 2 into turn 1 up the inside of Bottas. We'll take P19 away there, so there we go, into the 19th position, setting our sights on Daniel Ricciardo. Lap 3 comes around the same time, and I surprisingly had not gotten closer to Ricciardo and actually had lost a little bit of time overall, which was a bit of a concern that I was already struggling. You can see me going wide there, not taking a penalty because I dipped out of the throttle just enough, or a warning I should say now. But yeah, I was definitely struggling to find the pace I wanted. Looking at the track map, you can see Perez running P4, still behind Lewis Hamilton as well. Verstappen and Norris appearing to be, well, running away from the rest of the pack of cars. And lap 5, here comes Alex Albon lunging one up the inside of Pierre Gasly. That's going to put the two Alpines now 12th and 13th, unless Gasly has something to say about this before it's over, as now you can see Albon making those soft tires work as he's going to try and grip it up on the exit now, but Gasly not going to make it easy, tries to keep it pinned around the outside, and it still keeps him at least Albon's left rear wheel, but Albon gets the job done, so he moves up a position. Oscar Piastri, P11, just in front of that battle right now. He is struggling to go forward after what's been some impressive runs lately, but look at this, I am still losing time. And this is a concern. I just don't have the pace, and I'm slipping and sliding around a little bit, and by the time we come back around to end at lap 5, we are not in the DRS of 18th place Daniel Ricciardo, and now Valtteri Bottas is going to be all over our back wing, and he is going to breeze past in that Sauber kick machine. I am struggling. I don't know what's going on. That was all I had. I didn't know. I mean, we had the pace in practice that was okay. We had the pace in qualifying that was great. And we're still struggling. We're slipping and sliding here on lap 6. But clearly something isn't quite matching up like it was in the other sessions this weekend. Now George Russell actually into the pits on lap 7. He goes off those softs, moves on to the mediums. Of course, he's on the 2-stop strategy. We might even see a 1-stop strategy happen today from some cars, so we'll pay attention to that, like maybe the front runners of Verstappen as well as a Lando Norris, but not going to guarantee quite yet. But I am outside of the DRS now of Valtteri Bottas, and you can see I am slipping and sliding around now. Lap 8 of 35, and we are the worst car on track. And at the end of this lap, Alex Albon now going to come into the pits, including as well Yuki Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen. So we're going to pass them as well. Valtteri Bottas comes into the pits, so we get past them as well without any issues. Our pit window here opens on lap 11, but a lot of concern right now, and I just wondered, well, what's going on? What's happening here? I'm slipping and sliding. The rear end's trying to kick out a lot as this first run kind of goes on, and I would eventually figure out right there. I am burning through the outer carcass of this tire. It's 105, 106 degrees, while the other tires, the right rear, is only at 99 degrees. So that is exactly what's causing this rear end to, as you can see, slip and slide like crazy, as we now pass Hülkenberg and Zhou, who come into the pits now starting lap 10. So whatever I've done, I've completely driven wrong in this first run, and I've just burned up that left rear tire, and now I'm paying the consequences for it, and this kind of makes sense now as to why my pace has fallen off. So I know exactly what I need to do in this second run, but this first run is going to cost us dearly. Now 107 degrees on the left rear, and I need to come into the pits. I'm pitting right now, guys. I'm pitting now. I'm not waiting another lap.
Okay, we're ready for you. You need to not drive off the left rear in this run. That ruined your pace in this first stint and will cost us the rest of the day.
So you hear that from Mark, I mean, just saying, hey, we need to fix this because I've already screwed myself by driving the way I was, and I don't know why I was driving that way on that left rear, but I certainly, fortunately, before we pitted, recognized that we pit one lap early, but we're going to come out dead last. This sucks. I mean, I don't know where the pace has gone. The car, it's driving okay when I wasn't, you know, overheating the left rear, but it didn't seem like the pace was quite there, and I was quite frustrated by that, but we just got to put our head down and focus in and try to move forward. Verstappen and Norris and others have still remained on the racetrack, and I think Verstappen and Norris are aiming for a one-stop, while everybody in that group behind them, such as Perez, the pair of Ferraris as well, I think they're going to be still aiming for a two-stop strategy. Nonetheless, we're reeling in the cars in front, so there's a bit of a confidence booster here. Lap 13 at this point, and that gap is coming down. 1.7 seconds currently to Nico Hülkenberg, 1.6 Verstappen as well as Norris. Now pit, let's see what they do. They go into the hards. That confirms it really for sure. If they're going to not bother to go on to a medium compound, they're definitely switching to the hards, meaning it's going to be a one-stop strategy for them. Norris, Verstappen, and the others actually, Stroll, Leclerc, they are also going on to the one-stop strategy, putting the hard compound tire on. So they're going to come out a ways behind. You see the new cycle through leaders, Perez, signs, they pit now as well. They're coming in for the one-stop as well. They'll put on the hard compound tires. So the likes of Russell, Hamilton, or Alonso, they're going for the two-stop. So we're seeing two different strategies right in the front cars of the grid. I love this tire wear mod that we have. It's going to spice things up, but it right now puts Russell and Hamilton out in front, and here they go, wheel to wheel into turn number 1. Hamilton 104 career wins now to his name, while Russell, of course, with 2, as he's going to put it side by side still with Hamilton. Fernando Alonso loves what he sees as Verstappen, Norris are the first cars on the one-stop strategy, and I think those two are going to be safe. I think they're going to be in position to win this Grand Prix, or 1-2 this Grand Prix, I should say now, as I have joined this battle with Joe Bottas as well as Nico Hülkenberg, but I'm just glad that we have gained time. So I was not having any issues in this second stint with the left rear tire overheating because, well, I had recognized what I did, and now I was correcting that. George Russell, after losing the lead to Hamilton, comes into the pits here on lap 18, so his two-stop cycle is complete, and now Joe, towards the end of the lap, has a lockup. There's a position gained. Now, unfortunately, we have lost so much time off of that first run that it's going to be hard to even get a good result without a safety car at this point now. But here we go, looking for a move now on Hülkenberg into turn 1, lunging up the inside with that DRS assistance. We get clear on his nose, and we'll take off now. Another spot gain. We are starting to make some progress, but like I said, just not going to be enough time to make the progress that we would like to make, basically. Russell just 2.9 seconds up the road, Bottas 1.2. And we are closing in on Valtteri as well, as you can see. I mean, he, of course, got passed by me at the end of lap 1. We drove that left rear tire off the car, and Bottas quickly was able to pass us as well and drive away, but now the roles have reversed a little bit. We are closing in on him. Now here we go, battle up front again, Hamilton and now Alonso. Not the first time this season these two have been at it for the lead. We look back recently in Austria, last time these two battled for the lead, that meant Hamilton won the Grand Prix. Will we see the same today? I don't think so, because Verstappen's only 3 seconds back, but Alonso goes around the outside, takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and at the end of that 19th lap, here comes Valtteri Bottas into the pit lane as well. So another spot gained for us, but keep in mind we got to pit again, and others pit right there as well, including my teammate of Alex Albon, who gives up the lead. Hamilton, though, is actually still going at it here with Fernando Alonso. These two are really going along into the run, unlike George Russell, who pitted quite early, but Hamilton retakes the lead starting lap 21, but Verstappen, Norris and Piastri are right there with them at this point. Oscar Piastri currently in a net P3, but he's likely going to have to pit again as well. So we come into the pits, though, on the end of lap 21. This is a scheduled pit stop. Our pit window is lap 22, but because I pitted one lap earlier in that first pit window, I decided to kind of keep that in for the second pit window, pit one lap before it. So we have ran a way better second stint. It's unfortunate we didn't run a first stint that good. We're coming out right alongside Valtteri Bottas, and what a lap it apparently was on the end lap, because we get out in front Valtteri, thank you very much. It was close, but into only P17. We're getting excited over 17th place at this current moment in time, which is certainly a bit frustrating when you look at it now. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton now into the pit, same for Alonso and Piastri as well. And you can see them pitting right here. So they're getting the mediums off, the hard compound tire going onto Hamilton's car. Same for Fernando Alonso, Piastri as well. Looking like it's a slow stop there for Fernando Alonso. Actually, it looked like maybe the left rear, and that allows Piastri in front. So there goes the battle we were having between Hamilton and Alonso. Maybe never say never. It could spice up a little bit further if Alonso can kind of pick up the pace and, you know, get on with it really. But nonetheless, I mean, what a frustrating race it has been for us. Of course, after everything has cycled through, everybody's made their either one-stop or two-stop strategy, and we're only in the 17th position, which is so frustrating, because if we just had been able to put that first run together, it would have been a very different picture that we're painting for sure. As we try to run down Daniel Ricciardo 2 seconds up the road, we are reeling him in a little bit, but we come towards 10 laps to go of this Hungarian Grand Prix. That means we'll go through the grid.
Max Verstappen is en route to earn his 62nd career win today. If he can hold off Lando Norris, as he has done so all race long,
Lando has the pace and DRS to remain with Max, but the front straight is just a few metres too short for him to actually be close enough to make a move on him.
Carlos Sainz runs third over Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez. Perez is on the one-stop strategy, so he will eventually move into third in these next few laps.
Hamilton through back to everyone else is all on the two-stop, and I'm curious to see how this works out. Can he get on the podium or not?
And there's Oscar Piastri going the long way around Fernando Alonso. He's been a bit off compared to Norris this weekend, maybe showing that he is still struggling to find the consistency he needs. Is there any drivers that stand out as underperforming compared to a teammate Martin?
Honestly, not really. Norris and Piastri probably have the biggest gap, but Oscar has stepped up a lot recently. Maybe a bit surprised by Albon losing to his teammate in points, who is a rookie, but I'd say most teammates have had a fair back and forth this year so far.
And of course, we had the major news this weekend that F1 has decided to allow an 11th team onto the grid next year. The big question, however, is what team is it going to be?
The Trackhouse team would be the obvious guess. However, I'm not quite convinced yet that it will be them.
And there you have, through the grid, Zhou Guanyu at the very bottom there. Now Carlos Sainz into the pit finally. He's going to be putting on the soft compound tire. Interesting there. He's going to have a lot of pace towards the end of this Grand Prix. George Russell as well just made a pass on Charles Leclerc. Fernando Alonso trying to go around the outside of Oscar Piastri. Couldn't quite complete it right there. But we're seeing those guys that are going with the two-stop showing some good pace. But Verstappen as well as Norris are going to have enough of a gap with just under 10 to go. So they're not going to have to be concerned about those cars. I myself just focusing in at this point on trying to run down Daniel Ricciardo, and it was very, very slowly happening here now. 1.7, 1.8 seconds we're kind of flirting with. We have completely driven away from the cars behind, which is great. 3 seconds and over a half to Nico Hülkenberg at this point. So I was very happy with the pace that I was showcasing. Now yellow flag, and front, no, behind us. That's Bottas. Valtteri Bottas with a mechanical failure, and that's going to be the end of the day for the Sauber driver. Now his future still up in question with this team going into next season. Of course, IRL, Nico Hülkenberg's headed to the Sauber team. What's going to happen in game is the big question, and we already know as well, as we mentioned a few episodes ago, Audi will be coming in one season early and taking over that Sauber team next season. So things are going to be interesting. Here comes Fernando Alonso, breezes past George Russell, who lunges back, but no, Alonso shuts the door. The Spaniard into the 6th position now, as 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we still run P17. The gap is still coming down. It's really happening by about a 10th or 2 per lap. That's it. So 1.5 seconds as we cross the stripe there. We get it down to 1.2. And I knew Ricciardo is the only realistic driver we can even go after. Alex Albon's absolutely dominated my pace. Now, I was actually actually closing in on Albon this whole final run, but it doesn't matter. We got 3 laps to go now as we got more yellow flags in front of us, and I believe it's our teammate. It's our teammate of Albon who's having a mechanical failure. That'll be 2 Grand Prix in a row with a Williams issue.
Engine's gone, guys.
Do I need to be concerned about that?
No, keep pushing, we should be fine.
So that's exactly what we're going to do. Keep pushing and just see what we can do. So we had the first mechanical failure for the team last episode, and now we get 2 with now Alex Albon. Piastri was looking for a move on Russell, and he makes the mistake in front of the Australian. What is going on with Russell? He has been falling off in these closing laps of the Grand Prix, and he loses 2 spots in one go there. 2 laps to go. We are right around the 1 second of Ricciardo. We're flirting with that DRS range. Not quite close enough to have it quite yet as we approach this final lap of this Grand Prix. A lap and a half to go really at this point now, and Verstappen continues to lead the way. He's now starting the final lap. Norris has been on him all race long, but he hasn't had the pace. Here comes Hamilton now putting the fight to Fernando Alonso, and he's going to go around the outside and take the position. So Alonso had ran him down and passed him, and Hamilton's going to pass him back to start this final lap. So Hamilton P4, Perez P3 has just been kind of on his own here, doing his thing, but those guys on the 2 stops are running him down as I actually get my 3rd warning of the day and take a 3-second time penalty, making any chance of beating Daniel Ricciardo impossible unless he crashes himself, so I would just back it down. It's been a disappointing day for sure for us. Max Verstappen rounds the final turn, and for the 62nd time in his career, he is a Grand Prix winner.
Thank you, guys. Everyone at the factory. Lando kept me honest today. Thank you.
Lando Norris gets closer and closer to that first win of his Formula 1 career. Hasn't been able to do it in the same time he did it IRL. As I take another warning, at this point I banked the pace way down. I just said let's just bring it home, and you can see that reflected with the time now. 2 seconds to Daniel Ricciardo. P16, shameful. Definitely should be doing better, and it just wasn't a good day after the qualifying grid penalty and whatnot. Just disappointment here as we cross the stripe. Not good enough. Yeah, you guys don't need to say anything. I just know. Just one of those days. Just nothing worked.
Told you it would be hard to pass, mate. Let's focus on Belgium.
Solid drive, Gary. I think this track just didn't suit our car very well. Good job hanging in there.
And it's a performance to be proud of from our Hungarian Grand Prix winners.
Well, that's 2 race wins in a row for them. I think they'll be really happy with that. I mean, 1 race win is great, but to have 2, you know that you've got it. You're a little bit more comfortable in your skin. This is a great sign of maybe what's to come next.
Verstappen celebrates another win, and of course another increase in his points gap over Charles Leclerc, who's been trying to, keep him on his toes, but it just hasn't quite happened so far.
I'm really getting tired of being so close to winning one of these things, man. Our time is coming, though. I'll be standing where Max is soon enough.
You hear Lando Norris talk about just finishing second again, wanting to win a race, get to that top step of the podium. We know, just like real life, it's coming, like it did in Miami for him IRL. It's just a matter of time at this point. Perez kind of returning a little bit back to form. He's had some ups and downs, and let's not forget Perez has a win under his belt this season. A bit of luck involved after in Australia and Verstappen in that 2-stop mess, but it's still a win at the end of the day. A win is a win. Albon Bottas at 2 DNFs. Verstappen a 63-point advantage over Leclerc. Sainz and Hamilton right there together. Perez as well, not far off, as we remain P11, P12 with myself and Albon. And the 2 drivers at Haas, the only ones without points so far. Red Bull, a 60-point advantage over Ferrari going into Spa. I'll see you guys then. Have a great day.